Good, good. We're reviewing AI search visibility tools here again, and we have a very new solution out here to go through. I suppose the best way to do it is if you gave us a quick introduction to yourself and then what's your founder story? How did you end up in this market?
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about ourselves. This is one thing that we really love doing, right? Just a quick word about myself. So my background is in startups. I'm based in Israel, so obviously, very vibrant community here. The last 12 years in different, building different startups, building sales teams, marketing teams, managing them directly. Some went to be really prominent and big, like SimilarWeb, for example. And when I was on the early team, I worked a lot with CMOs and SEOs, obviously, all the keyword research, etc. Zerto was acquired, a couple of other AI companies, that are more up and coming. And this year we founded LightSite AI. It's pretty unique, we think, I'll let you guys be the judge of it, but it's a patent pending approach. So we fix AI search visibility, not only content, but also in terms of technical play, which I think is often overlooked. But the consensus is that it's becoming just as important. So this is a really quick word about us.
That's really good. And Stas, I think the thing that we can do is instead of looking at slides and presentations and so forth, I think the really valuable thing would be that if you can give us a demo of it, we can then go through and understand what is the importance of the technical aspect and what are the ways that you're addressing it. That would be the ideal way to go through this. So,
Okay. Do you mind, Larry, if I take your own website to do a demo on?
yes,
Is that okay?
of course, go for it.
Are you sure?
Yes, of course. That's
Okay.
always the best.
Don't kill the messenger.
The shoemaker has no shoes. It's like, SEOs typically have a lot of things they need to fix on their own website. So the best thing to see is what we need to fix.
This will be the first time I'm going to be looking at your website. So I don't know what
Mhm.
we're going to find. Maybe you're in a great shape,
Mhm.
and there's nothing, guys, that you can fix. But this is not what we usually find. Look, so before we jump into, light side and the demo, I want to do like this is the first time I'm doing it, so I'm not sure what we're going to
Mhm.
find. What I want to do is I want to access your website as a GPT bot, pretending to be a GPT bot, and I want to see what it is that the bot sees. Okay. What we did, right, is we run a curl command. I don't know, for the technical audience, I'm not going to explain. I'm accessing it here, right? So this is the GPT bot and this is your website. And I'm seeing basically what the bot sees. So every LLM, they have their own bot for indexing, retrieval, training, and we can distinguish between them. And what we see is something that, actually puts you ahead of quite a few companies out there, because about 90% of the websites that we see, they don't even have like a basic, meta tags and, like basic structured data. And you do have some of this, which is great, right? So it's pretty clear what it is that you do. So let's scroll down a little bit more and see if we can find a bit more, like structured data, JSON LD, etc. Or will we see, okay, this is great, right? So you guys are in a pretty good shape. This is structured data, right? There is some of it,
Yeah.
okay?
Why is it important stuff? Why is it important?
What's important? So today, if we talk about the technical aspect first, before we talk about the content. So your website is the
Mhm.
most. It's supposed to be the source that you control, one of the sources that you control, and all the LLMs, they are indexing your website, trying to understand it routinely or as part of conversation with users, which happens less often, but it still happens. Now, all these bots, they have their own budget, right? And crawling budget. So if they don't hit your page or pages and find structured data in a way that they love and understand and can see as a credible source, if they don't find this data, they will time out. They will, obviously get something about you, right? But it's not going to be clear, credible, and authoritative enough. And then, they will probably time out or, index you wrongly. We see it a lot. Just yesterday, I spoke with the e-commerce shop that every time when we ask ChatGPT about their positioning, it brings up data from 2 years ago, right? Although they already changed the branding and it's like already different company, right? So access to structured data that is clear and the ends obviously structured, right, makes you a credible and authoritative source for LLMs. So this is a big part of what we call owning your brand in AI search. Because we know that companies are focusing on mentions and traffic. It makes sense. I mean, it's valuable. But what we say is that traffic starts with ownership of your brand. So if you are misunderstood by LLMs, we see so many examples almost daily, like SEO agencies, DeepSeek things that they are recruiting agencies, right? So if you are misunderstood, you will not be shown in the queries that you want to be shown in, right? Not just for the vanity of it, but in the right queries to your ideal customer profile, which means that's a huge risk of becoming invisible and losing ownership of the brand in AI search. And traffic and mentions, they come with it. So this is the first
Yeah.
part that we fix. Now, we
Yeah.
didn't invent structured data, but what we did invent, and this is the patent pending part, is an easy, non-intrusive way of adding a layer, a skin of structured data to
Mhm.
your website, basically translating your website for LLMs. So this is the technical play.
That sounds super interesting because this positions you somewhere in between the AI visibility tools that track citations and then some of the content management systems that are building machine readable content. So you're kind of the technical aspect is a differentiator.
Yes, absolutely. So this is it. Now we have multiple. If we, this is one thing that we really think about a lot. What is visibility in LLMs? What is it? Is it just a mention? But not every mention is relevant or accurate. Not every mention is clickable, etc., etc. So what does visibility mean? If we're still talking about technical part, and we will jump into how we deal with content, which is also quite different from what we see, at least right on the market. The big part of it is understanding how your own content, the one that you control, is being accessed and trusted by LLMs, right? Because most of the companies, maybe large ones, they keep backend logs and have visibility in, like data tools to look into it. 99% of the companies, they don't have access to this visibility. What we see is one of the benefits of dynamic structured data and not static structured data. Anyone can have static structured data. You can bring a developer, it will cost you a few thousands of dollars, but it will be static, right? You will have no control of it and no visibility. You have to maintain it manually. And this is like, 2020, whatever, right? So it's not today. What we show you based on our analytics is how LLMs access and trust your content and how different off-site marketing campaigns, organic campaigns, PR, etc., how they are affecting your AI visibility. So for example, this is the traffic of all the bots that we have on our website, right? To our structured data. We can see the depth of it, the rate of it. So it gives us the trust signals because accessing data does not necessarily mean trust. So we want to see the depth of it. These are the PR campaigns that we run in November, early December, and there's also another one, I think, in a bit earlier. And these are some Reddit campaigns that we run. So we see the impact of how your off-site citations impacting your own visibility in terms of indexing, crawlability of your website. Not just adding the structured data, but adding dynamic structured data that you can control easily from UI, because marketing teams, even if you have like a large development team, etc., you have all the logs, they're always under resourced. We give you a full control of this structured data. You can edit it from UI and you can have visibility into how it actually works.
How does that work in practice? Let's say there's a company that has a WordPress CMS or a Webflow CMS. Is this something that integrates with where you publish your blog and where you publish your website, or is this something that kind of operates outside of it?
So there are a few things. So this is where most of our IP lies, right? So there are quite a few things that I can go into unless, very public call. But essentially, what we do is there is a certain integration with the website. It can be integrated with any website. It's a 3-step integration. First, a
Hmm.
couple of ref rules and the snippet, which is our own analytics, our own development.
Hmm.
We don't rely on any third party. A quick branded redirect links in your robots file, and then there
Okay.
are the data leaves
Hmm.
off-site it comes with certain challenges, for example, again, trust challenges, etc., and we solve it in a few,
Mm.
graceful ways. So what bots see, they see a data that is associated with your website, that is on your website, but in terms of, like integration, we don't change anything, we don't manipulate DOM, we don't do anything at all, right?
Yeah. So basically, from what I see and understand, is that through putting signals in, let's say, the robots.txt file, you're essentially, when these crawlers come to your website, you're giving them an understanding of what's on the website that is machine readable, that lives outside of the blog. It may be looking at what's on the blog, it may be looking at what's on the website, but you're basically translating that into human text into machine text to some extent.
This is exactly the point. It does not prevent bots from accessing your website. So basically, what happens,
Mhm. Yeah.
there are two ways they can either go through robots file and then
Mhm.
land on our data, or they can
Mhm.
fetch the page, whatever
Mhm.
the reason is. And in
Mhm.
this case, our integration will also feed them the structured data in a controlled way, right? So for example, you see here, these are the links, right? That you control from the UI, you
Yes.
structure the data, right? And we see how they're
Mhm.
being accessed and crawled.
Cool.
Right. So this is the technical part, but really quick word about the content play, because obviously this is very important, right? And we want to understand, because there are sources that we don't control. We don't control our competitors. We don't control third-party sources. And this is where a lot of UI AI's, worldview is being shaped, right? So, but what can we do? First of all, we can have the visibility. Let's start with visibility. Right now, nobody really knows how they are actually appearing, how they are perceived, not just in which mention. It's important, but what's we think is more important is that you understand where you mentioned, but also why AI thinks certain way about you. For example, what we do is, we run a bunch of tests on LLMs, many different queries, fan out queries, right, to test how does your brand actually performs in an unbiased LLM search, and what makes you win or lose. Because without the visibility, it's very hard, impossible, to shape a proper content strategy. Again, just a couple of days ago, I spoke with someone who she told me, look, I'm building my content strategy for the year. And ask her, so how do you do that? What kind of visibility do you have? And in terms of LLMs, of course, right? And she said, well, kind of, doing, like keyword research, obviously, the blogs, all the regular stuff. But it's like kind of like spray and pray. Okay, let's do something. We do have intelligence, but we don't think it's enough. So what we do here is we take all your data, how you like from ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Gemini, how you appear, compare you to the competitors, and then we tell you, look, this is a bit messy, but I will explain. So, for example, when people ask AI about general tool discovery, for example, they ask, how does LightSite AI compare? Or how do I do this and that, right? So general queries. Some competitors, large and prominent, have a bigger share of voice, have a larger or a share of voice more prominently present. So this is interesting, but what's useful is we can tell them, look, the reason that for how to or recommend me or where do I find what's the best tool for, how do I solve a problem, the reason that these competitors win is that because they're going after very specific content strategy in certain Reddit groups, or they have a certain intent of reviews, etc., etc. We don't just tell you what's happening, we tell you why exactly AI thinks the way it is thinking, and we can tell you exactly what to do about it, right? So what should be your, I don't want to call it quick win, because I don't think there are
Mhm.
such thing, but what is your focus should be, where should you be
Mhm.
focusing your resources, right? So
Yeah.
this is, I think, where we like, kind of different. So again, to summarize, technical
Yeah.
play, structured data, visibility, fully dynamic, and content play
Mhm.
that is based on true intelligence.
Yeah, the points you mentioned, and this example you're showing me, it looks like Reddit is an important source. For
You can
agency
see that
owners
Reddit
like myself,
is
Reddit is a bit of a difficult area because a lot of SEO agencies are not used to influencing what happens off page. Could you describe who are the kind of companies that are using this approach and they're getting value out of it? Are there some
you can
agencies
see.
or in-house champions you have who are like actually influencing off-page mentions like Reddit?
This is a great question. I think that I will start with quickly telling my view about the whole SEO GEO thing. And I mean, it's kind of maybe a bit long answer, but I think it's relevant. So we don't think that GEO is a whole new discipline. We think it's a layer of SEO and optimization layer. SEO is not dead. It's not going anywhere, right? But of course, the playbook has changed. Things have changed. So we need to adjust to it. So GEO is a layer. Why am I saying it? Because we know that without proper foundation, SEO foundation, without proper know-how and like fixing the basics, you will not win an AI search, no matter what you do, because there's no way to manipulate AI. You can become credible, transparent, authentic, providing real value and now like talking clearly about it. So our approach is 100% channel driven. So even if customers come to us directly, we always involve an agency and we actually take care of this whole content part. We can do that, right? So through our agencies or through our internal know-how, right? So we help our clients not just fix the technical part and discover the content gap, but we also help them implement it. So our users are companies, right? But we also always involve agency to help out implementing the strategy, or as often as we can. So this is to answer your question. Now, really quickly about Reddit. So obviously, this is my profile. This is my own demo. If you are, I don't know, an e-commerce brand, probably not probably, the whole UI will look very different. Your citation sources, your competitors, insights, it will be personalized, of course, based on your business context. Reddit is not very important for everyone. In fact, we see that for our B2B SaaS clients, G2 is the number one citation source by far. We have about 90K analysis that were run in the last few months. So G2 is leading there. But if Reddit is your play and if Reddit is your number one citation source, which is in my case, because, like we are a SaaS company, but we are, an SEO space. So there's a lot of credibility that's coming from Reddit. We can help you implement this play and, run organic campaign on Reddit as well.
And just kind of on that point, there's very clear distinction between B2C and B2B. What is your current view of LightSite? What is your ideal customer? I'm sure there's any kind of companies can be using it, but what are the kind of sweet spots that you would have that are like ideal customers for you?
That's also, a very good question. So yes, LightSite AI is not for everyone, right? Everyone can get some benefit out of it, but companies that get the most benefit out of it are B2B companies. Definitely B2B companies for many reasons. I don't want to go into this detail. However, we do have quite a few, some large, some smaller, luxury or like, consumer kind of e-commerce brands that we work with. And what we see is working well for them is not when they optimize for brands, but rather for when they have a certain strategy in mind. For example, not like, we want to beat everyone at everything in AI search, if we sell cell phones and shoes or whatever. But when they come with a specific strategy in mind, for example, I don't know, we want to perform better or understand who performs, I don't know, on iPhones, or, something that is more focused. And also e-commerce brands that are very focused and very thin, like, I don't know, luxury bags, okay? Luxury bags in Sweden, whatever. In this case, it is very focused, very relevant, and they can get a lot of value out of it. But again, ideal customer profile is a B2B brand.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, we've seen it a lot. Maybe you want to still show. I think the what I would like to see is like you probably have these ideal customers, I guess a head of marketing or a CMO who buys into that. Could you just show a bit more of the how does this make their life easier? Maybe the for the marketing team leader, what do they usually look to see once they've gotten implemented?
Right. So the first thing that they look at is the actual share of voice, right? So, we work with different LLMs, all the major LLMs, right? And we can, run organic queries on scale that, again, we create them organically based on business context. And we can see, with what queries for like what intent you are known for, right? Where are you stronger and where you are weaker, where you're appearing. So basically tracking mentions, right? Like you said, who the competitors are, and why, what the share of voice is, etc. So this is where they look at first. Again, this is interesting, but it's not actionable. And so I think there has to be like a really big distinction here, because information, insights by itself are not actionable. It's interesting, but again, it's something that is good for reporting, good for visibility, understanding, etc. This is where they start. And then again, the most important part is, we take all this data, hundreds if not thousands of queries, and we group them in clusters, search intent clusters, clusters where you're dominant, contested by competitors, or very close, or where you're completely missing out. And again, so this intelligence is grouped by design, by cluster, by intent clusters, and that this is where they work with, right? So this is where like most of the work of marketing teams happen, where they see, okay, so these are the sources. This is what let me show you a good example. Okay, so these are pretty good examples. In my space, certain websites, certain sources influencing AI in my space, I think built like beyond. So these are competitor sources, these are sources that are being mentioned by competitors and what kind of content they create, right? So, I mean, again, first the
Yeah.
visibility and then the intelligence.
Yeah, and I'll tell you how this looks a bit different from a lot of the AI visibility tools I see. A lot of the AI visibility tools track based on prompt. So it's literally who is tracked on that prompt, and it's kind of almost like keyword tracking in old SEO. What I see from here is that you're taking a topic perspective, which I think it does have a lot of value. But can you tell us who or how do you create those topics? Is it the customer who builds them for themselves, or do you aid them in kind of understanding what is the topic cluster you're going after?
Yes, I think I didn't explain myself well here, because first, of course, it starts not with the topic, but it starts with specific query. So, for example, best AI SEO platforms, alternatives to content tools, right? So these are all searches, right? So this is how people search. Now, first, we test different queries. You can give them a tone of voice, right? You can control them somehow. For example, you can say, I want to test my presence in the US market, right? Or CMOs, etc. So you can give them a tone of voice. But what we will do from this point on is we will, and you can see here that AI is learning from sample queries. So basically, first we tell our own AI, this is what a good query looks like. Find us out queries, different variations of this query. Let's see how we perform in these all different variations during time and on scale. And we create these queries organically, right? So basically, you have some control over it, but we don't want to give you too much control, because then you will be biased and the search will be biased. We want it to be a purely unbiased search. If you search, if it's a user in Mexico, US, or Asia, everybody uses ChatGPT. We don't really know how they're using it. So sticking to certain pattern that you know and you think it works, it can be counterproductive. So we allow you to give us a tone of voice. We get your business context, so the platform understands who you are, what your business is, what's your ideal customer profile, what's your tone of voice, pricing, etc. So this whole thing, being set up during onboarding. And then we test the queries, and only on the next stage, we group these queries into search clusters. So first, of course, we check the mention per query, but then we group them by intent and sentiment.
So some AI search visibility tools ask you to list keywords, as in what are your popular keywords on old-fashioned Google. Some search visibility tools ask for natural language prompts, as in what is the question that you expect someone to be putting in ChatGPT. How is this different? Can you help me understand that?
It's not that different because you can either add your own queries that we will take it as an example, or your own keywords that we will take it as an example. But here's the important distinction: other tools, they use this template as is most of the time, but you know better than anyone, if you open 5 different browsers, you ask the same question, but with a slightly different wording. It's
Mhm.
slightly different. You will get different answers. Again, this is why we think that sticking to a certain format and being rigid about it is counterproductive. It may show you that you are, amazing, you're doing great as you kind of improve yourself, but it's not really representative of how people search. So we prefer to take your input, take your what you know about your brand, what you think works, and then test different fan out queries and different variations to give you a real representation of how you perform.
Good. I think kind of time check here. I think we've covered a lot of good content. I think I've kind of basically covered my questions. So I think the only thing missing is that if you can kind of summarize if there's any kind of killer features or anything that you think is really you want to call out that differentiate you, kind of we can still go through that. So did we miss anything in the demo?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. Have you seen
Cool.
anyone, fixing the structured data? I mean, really, I'm asking because maybe I don't know, right? But did you see
Yeah.
tools that do it this way, or what do you
Yeah.
think, really?
My hunch, subjective view, is I'm looking for, I really like Webflow as a CMS. I'm expecting that the CMS providers will be providing a layer of kind of agent level intelligence that will help me pick. I think it's a problem that is shared by the website publishing platforms as much as it is the AI engines. I've seen one competitor or one other tool provider called Scrunch who are
Mhm.
using, they're talking about this user experience platform, which is quite similar. So they're basically trying to build basically a skin
Mhm.
that is what they expect AI engines to be seeing because they have this kind of limitation to how much kind of compute power they want to expose to the internet. So I think your solution is unique. Scrunch are not live with their solution, but there are other solutions that I expect to be coming in the market because it is a big problem you're solving.
And also, we combine it with the whole technical play. So it's kind of I think what's unique about us maybe is like the holistic approach. That is, by the way, we are a bootstrapped company. We bootstrap with the clients. So it's very affordable. A mid-market company can easily afford LightSite, fix all the structured data issues, and fix the content gaps pretty easily.
You're bootstrapped now, but I guess that's the final question. What's your plan for the next couple of years? Where are you taking the company?
The plan is to provide as much value to the customers as possible. That's it.